This workshop is all about how to develop confidence in social situations. And the aim of the workshop is to improve confidence in social situations, introduce a CBT approach, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, to understand the links between our thoughts, feelings, and behaviour, to recognise what keeps social anxiety going, and then finally to introduce tools to practice. So sometimes people looking at us might think anxiety can be quite comical or can be quite humorous, but actually it's not. And I've just put there some examples like anxiety girl able to jump to the worst conclusion in a single bound, or even like the building up the courage to make it a phone call, maybe not sleeping the night before. And then obviously sometimes with anxiety in particular comes not able to make a decision, like if I go out I'll want to come home, but if I stay home I'll want to go out. And then like finally how it feels when I get on the bus, everyone's angry towards me, like nobody likes me. So sometimes it can seem quite humorous to others, but we know if you do struggle with social anxiety or anxiety, it can be really crippling, it can be soul destroying, it can be so painful. But we can minimize that, and there's ways to control that and make it a bit smaller so it doesn't impact on our daily lives as much. So what is social anxiety and how does it affect us? Obviously, it affects our physical state. We know our changes in our bodies that occur, the palpitations, the sweating, the hot flushes, and all of that. And sometimes it can even affect our bowels as well. Our emotions, it affects how we feel, our thoughts, conversations that run through our minds. Oh my God, everyone's looking at me. How am I going to be able to cope? And then it also affects our behavior. And that's when it really impacts on our daily lives, because we maybe stop doing things that we enjoyed before, and that's when it becomes a problem. And there's obviously the fight or flight response, and there's the freeze response as well, where you just can't move and it's just all too much and you feel as though your brain stopped working. So it does affect us physically as well as mentally. And I think when we do feel in that heightened state of panic or the anxiety is really kicking in, it's important to ground yourself and remember you're okay, you're safe. Because years and years ago, kind of that fight response was useful, especially if we were being faced with a saber-toothed tiger or something. It's like the adrenaline was good because we would give it all for our fight. But kind of now we're not at that threat from something so dangerous, but our brain still kicks in. So we're going to be attacked, or it's going to be unbearable, or it's actually going to kill us. So it's remember to ground yourself and tell yourself, I'm safe, I'm okay, I can get through this, and be in the moment rather than thinking worst case scenario. Because when that happens, some of our thoughts might be, oh, my face must be bright red. They think they can see I'm nervous. They must think I'm stupid. I don't have what it takes. So then our emotions are anxiety, fear, sad, despair, hopeless. And then that links into our physical sensations of being shaky and butterflies and hot and sweating. Our breathing might get out of control. And then that links into our behaviours of, oh my God, I'm not going there again. I can't do that. I broke down last time. I embarrassed myself. And that's when we develop these kind of behaviours that are not really helpful for us. So think about your own thoughts and fears. What do you worry about, or what concerns you going into a social situation? Think about what might prevent you from engaging in something, and what you think. Do you think, oh my God, everyone thinks I'm stupid, or they're looking at me? I know mine was, I'm not good enough. So I used to panic and worry that I'm not good enough. People might see through me and realize I'm not as bright as I'm making out. And looking back now, I know no one ever probably thought that. That's just what I thought, which kind of impacted on my anxiety. Is anxiety always a bad thing? Anxiety, as I've said earlier, can be helpful. It's a warning us to possible threatening situations, so it gets us on guard. It makes us be alert and on standby, and it fills us with lots of power and energy. So it can help us perform well, actually, in situations like exams. When it's not helpful, like I said, kind of it might stop us from doing enjoyable things, like getting our point across in lectures or asking for what we want. So it might hold us back. People might not get to see the real us because we're holding ourselves back because of our anxiety. What does your anxiety stop you from doing? Is there anything that you'd like to do that you don't because your anxiety stops you from doing it? I know sometimes if I didn't look a certain way, or I used to get terrible cold sores, if they come out, it's like, oh, can't go out. Everyone will like point at a coleslaw and like shout coleslaw, not coleslaw. That's something that you eat. Cold sore. I used to dread people like looking at me or noticing me. So what keeps our social anxiety going? It's our behaviours, taking actions that give us short-term relief from anxiety, our safety behaviours. But they're going to reduce our confidence in the long term. So there might be like a bit of a sticking plaster to get you through that uncomfortable situation, or not even kind of engage in that uncomfortable situation. But really, the impact on our confidence, because the longer we leave it, then the harder it's going to be to engage in that activity or join that circle of friends again. What are your safety behaviours? What do you avoid? What would you like to do that your lack of confidence stops you from doing? What are your thoughts before you speak out? I know some people might sit alone, which can become lonely because I think that's my little safety behaviour. Or they might wear headphones. Don't look at me. I'm listening to music. Don't you dare make eye contact with me. I used to go on a bus and use a phone. That was my little kind of safety behaviour, so people didn't give me eye contact. Maybe it stops you from voicing your opinions, and maybe you get caught in that negative thinking trap. I'm not going to speak up because people won't like me, or what I say people might think is stupid. So there's some unhelpful thoughts. It's known as distorted thinking. And it comes from the cognitive school of therapy, and it was introduced by Aaron Beck. He says that some people think this way, which might affect low mood and might affect anxiety. So I mean, there's quite a few there that you can read in your own time. But one of those is kind of the mental filter, maybe only focusing on the 45%, rather than all the other times I got 60+%. So it's only focusing on that one pass mark, just passed, rather than focusing on every time you've done really, really well, which might make you think I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, just because of that one. You might have had an off day, it might not have been your subject, but you'll just focus on that one mark where you felt you didn't do as well. There's another one, kind of predicting the future. The amount of students that I work with, they're like, no, Nicky, that's going to happen. I'm going to fail. I'm not going to get my dream job. And they try and predict the future because they're thinking like that. They're feeling like that. They're not feeling great. They're reacting to what they think's going to happen, rather than what is actually happening in the here and now. I know she won't want me there, Nicky, so I'm not going to go. So you can see how that negative thinking might keep a person stuck and keep them isolated, and maybe continue the low to impact on the low mood. Kind of mind reading, assuming we know what others are thinking about us. I mean, it's normally about us. Or like, they don't like me. The way she looked at me or he looked at me today, it was a dirty look, they hate me. They might have just had something in the eye, perhaps. Emotional reasoning. You can't help feeling fat, even though you have been told by the doctor that your weight is within the normal range. So yeah, you're emotionally reasoning with yourself, like, even though we've got the evidence against it, no, I'm so fat, I feel fat. Yeah, I feel bad, so it must be bad. Some others, catastrophizing, imagining and believing that the worst possible thing will happen. For example, maybe excessively worrying over health issues. Another one, black and white thinking. I think they refer to that as well as all or nothing thinking. Everyone hates me. I'm always lonely. I never get picked for the team. So it's kind of using those words, even though it might have only happened once or twice, like everything goes into never, or everything goes into always. The filter, be flexible in the thinking and look at the shades in between. It's either good or bad, or success or failure. They're actually discounting the grey areas in between. One more that I'll mention is the shoulds and musts, which equals huge pressure. And I get this a lot with students. Unrealistic expectations. Everyone must like me. I must get over 70%. I must be worthy and successful. And if I'm not, then what's the point? And I'm just going to amount to nothing. So the musts and the shoulds really puts pressure on ourselves. And it might be changing that to say, oh, I'd like that, but it's not the end of the world if I don't. It doesn't equal your self-worth if you get over 70%. So it's remembering that and trying not to put pressure on yourself and making it more realistic. So there's a few that I've mentioned, and you can have a read of those in your own time. So evidence for and against thinking. Thoughts are quite convincing, and our beliefs are usually built up over a lifetime. So sometimes these negative thoughts are so rigid, it's sometimes difficult to get out of that negative thought pattern and think more rationally. But where's the evidence? Where's the proof? You need to look outside the box and look at the whole picture, because sometimes we think it's truth when actually it's not, and it's our perception of things. So where is your evidence? Think about that when you're thinking when a strong negative thought comes in your head. Think, and where's the evidence for that? Or where's the evidence against that? Because normally it's not true. Thoughts are not facts. So time for change. Yeah, time to feel a bit more relaxed in social situations, to feel brave, act as if you were brave. Life is about taking risks, and life is about challenging yourself. And if you just sit there in your own little bubble, in your own little comfort zone, then you might always be stuck there. It's normally always not as bad as you think it's going to be. And it's time now to welcome the new you, and life's for living, and sometimes just going for it, because you put so much energy into worrying about it that it takes up loads of time anyway, rather than just going for it, getting it over and done with. And it wasn't as bad, and it's probably less painful. So confidence is believing in yourself and your ability, and that you can succeed, putting yourself forward, taking opportunities, and try out something you've been avoiding and see what happens. Why don't you try something that you've been avoiding? Like try saying hello or smiling at someone in your year group. Maybe like speak up in a lecture. It's not going to be that bad. People are not going to laugh at you. People have said, not going to say, ha ha, you've got the wrong answer. Maybe there's been some kind of past historical situation or experience that maybe prevents us from doing that in the here and now. But no two experiences are the same. And you're an adult now, and you'll respond to it differently. And we need to kind of get rid of some of those messages from, I don't know, from significant others or from other children at school that kind of laughed or embarrassed us or said we weren't good enough because they're irrelevant now. Well, maybe parents might be relevant, but the messages, we need to push them to one side to start believing in ourselves, because you are a worthy human being. Most people feel anxious talking in public, so maybe start small, just with a little thing like one question, and then just maybe build it up again. I'm not telling you to go and give an hour lecture to your class or an hour presentation. Maybe just start small, what you feel comfortable with, and then build it up each time. And honestly, the best way to feel more comfortable is being in the deep end and taking risks, and getting your brain to realize you can manage this stressful or this uncomfortable situation. And even if you are in a social situation, all you have to do is nod and smile, and there's no pressure at all to keep conversations going. Just be you, just be yourself. Sometimes I don't even talk with my friends. I'm just quiet because I'm maybe knackered or something, but that's okay. You don't have to be the one. People come to me and say, oh, I don't know what to say, and there's the pressure, and I don't know what to ask, and I've got nothing interesting about myself. I'm just like, just go, be you. Just if you've got nothing to say, just say I'll get back to class, or I've got to go. That's okay. You can control a situation. If you feel uncomfortable, you can leave that situation. But what we don't want is you to withdraw and become isolated, because that's not helpful. So kind of some behaviour experiments. Your thought might be, oh my God, if I speak up, I'll jumble my words and everyone will think I'm stupid. So then there's the unhelpful thinking styles of mind reading, predicting the future. We know that's not accurate. Cross that off. Experiment, ask a question at the end of our next lecture. Outcome and learning. I felt really anxious and noticed my heartbeat, and I felt a bit hot and didn't want to do it. There wasn't any evidence that anyone thought I was stupid. When I asked, I got an answer, and someone even thanked me for checking something they didn't understand either. How's that for building your self-confidence, your self-worth, your self-acceptance? It's so empowering. So some people get confused with assertiveness and think it's the one who's like a bit gobby or the one who's full of themselves. But being assertive is actually being honest and being open. Sorry, that writing's quite small there, but it's being open and honest. And it's putting your point across in a confident way, in a clear way. And it shows a hell of a lot of self-respect. And it's not being aggressive, assertive. It's just being, like I say, being clear and being open. And then by being like that with your communication, it's more likely that you will get your needs met, and it will kind of result in more positive relationships with friends, family, and your colleagues and other students, because they'll get to know you more and they'll understand you more. Say no. It's great to say no. I love saying no. You should never feel the pressure to have to always be there for someone else. That comes into the should. I should be a great friend by always being there. I must be there for everyone. Well, actually, when you do that, you sometimes neglect your own needs by being like that. So actually saying no shows a high level of self-respect, and it's fine to say no. It's good to say no. You're looking after yourself and you're important. Think about people that are assertive, and what do you think of them? Probably chances are you admire them for being honest and truthful, and you'll probably be able to relate to them as well, because they're direct and they know what they want, and they're straight to the point. And I suppose not being assertive really breeds resentment. Like, I never got my point across. They didn't care. What's the point in speaking anyway? It's like, if you're not assertive, you can normally like resent people or resent the activity. But it's your responsibility to be assertive and to communicate clearly to get your point across. So there is kind of some positive self-talk statements you can tell yourself when you're feeling that anxiety, when you're feeling a bit uncomfortable, you can feel your tummy like flipping, and they encourage us to be more confident. And I've just put there, if you want to do this in your own time, you can. Write down a positive statement or coping thought before a situation that might be distressing. I know when I was teaching, I was a lecturer at a further education college, and I dreaded observations. Oh, I hated them. Oh, I used to get sweaty armpits and everything. It wasn't great. But the more times I did it, the more confident I became at it. And I remember like just thinking, come on, like even when they were like, I've done this before. I know I'm going to get nervous, but I know I've got the tools within me to cope. I can get through this. I'm going to be okay, and I'll reward myself tonight with something as a well done for getting through it. Don't forget, we're trying to rewire our brains, because our brains are telling us, oh, it's a threatening situation, there's danger, someone's going to attack. But actually, the more times we do it, the brain's like, okay, this is not as bad. We've got this. We're doing all right. Keep going. And there's just what to tell yourself when you're feeling discouraged. And this challenge is here to teach me something. We'll always gain something from an uncomfortable situation, and that's where our best learning comes from. And like alongside positive self-statements, positive self-talk, there's obviously the relaxation techniques to reduce anxiety. Sometimes works for sometimes some, that's okay. I know some people find it difficult to fully relax, where some people can really get into like meditation and relaxation. And again, it's kind of taking a breath, especially maybe when your anxiety is heightened, or kind of you're panicking, or this can be useful for panic attacks as well. Like, take a breath in through the nose for 5 seconds, hold the breath for 2 seconds, and breathe out through the mouth for 7 seconds. And it's just kind of, you can do your grounding when you're doing this, like, I'm safe, I'm okay, nothing's going to hurt me, I'm not going to die, I can manage this. It's very much being in the here and now. And then there's also something called progressive muscle relaxation technique, and I've just put a little video on there if you want to do it in your own time. And it's a technique that can help with anxiety. It's about tensing and your muscles, and then fully relaxing each part of your body to really get into that relaxation zone. Again, it can be another technique that can support with anxiety to help you just relax your body and relax your mind and feel less tense, and just try and bring it back to the here and now, rather than drifting off with your oh my God situations, or worst case scenario situations, or I'm not going to be able to survive situations. It can really help bring you back down, as I said, to the here and now. I mean, there's other self-care strategies, and it's about taking the time to look after you. It can be so mentally and physically draining, anxiety. I know it can be terrifying, social anxiety in particular, and not feeling kind of comfortable, and you can't even focus because you're that kind of focused on how tense your body is, and you can't relax, and you're focused on your anxiety, what takes you away from being in that lecture and listening to those words. I know social anxiety is so difficult, but the more we do it, the more we practice it, the easier it will become. And the more you will feel comfortable in those difficult situations, or what you perceive to be difficult situations. Some other self-care strategies: having a warm bath, going for a walk, just talking to a friend, sometimes just laughing it out helps. Doing your exercise, doing your favorite things like gaming, crafts, reading. Obviously, you've probably heard a lot about mindfulness, trying to be in the moment, taking in the fresh air, feeling the pavement. I was going to say sand, but unfortunately, I don't live near a beach. But feeling the pavement between underneath underneath your feet, and just being with your pet as well, and just looking at the scenery and realizing you're safe, you're okay. There might have been situations in your life where you haven't felt safe and okay, but try and separate the two, and try and think of it how you are now and how you're responding now. You're an adult. You can manage this. You're fine, and try and kind of separate from that past experience. And I accept that anxiety is normal, and you are okay. Lots of people have anxiety. I think everyone goes through anxiety at some part in their life, and just accept that it's okay. We are going to get triggered by things that kind of increase our anxiety. There might be weeks or months or years when our anxiety is much less, but it's looking after yourself when you do feel that anxiety being particularly big. And I've just put on there, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I feel that's what helped me, kind of being in that deep end, taking that risk, and just allowing myself to come out a bit more, and allowing my true self to be there, and not hiding behind someone that I felt I should be, trying to be like really brainy. And the more I was just myself, the more I realized I was actually okay. People thought I was okay, so that was a nice feeling, actually. And yeah, that links into the next quote: let go of who you think you are supposed to be and be who you are. Because you always think, oh, people won't like me, they'll think my hair's weird, they'll think my laugh's weird, well, I like my clothes. Oh, I'm not into gaming, or I'm not into such and such. Is that they're not like me? But just, do you know what? Just practice being you, because that is the start. To just practice being you and accept you. So just a little recap. Hopefully, I've given you some things to think about, and maybe you could relate to some of the distorted thinking patterns. And cognitive behavioral therapy is when we start changing how we think, it's going to have an impact on how we feel, and it's going to have an impact on our behavior. So the key is to kind of change those unhealthy, unhelpful thinking styles, and just go with it. Just go with the flow, and just try and enjoy the journey, and try and enjoy the experience. So kind of just thinking about it, reflect in your own time, maybe after this kind of workshop, name something that you've learned today, and maybe how you're going to use it in your everyday life. Are you going to change in any way? Are you going to do things a bit differently? Because I suppose social anxiety is sometimes about change, and thinking differently. So hopefully it's give you some food for thought. So just to summarize, social anxiety is caused by a combination of negative thoughts, anxious feelings, and behaviours that create a self-fulfilling prophecy. I won't go out tonight because no one's going to talk to me anyway. And my core belief is everyone thinks I'm a loser. So we stay stuck with I'm a loser, or I'm not good enough, because we're not even prepared to challenge that irrational thought pattern. Actually, we might not have had a great experience with people, but tonight might be different. I might get chatting to people who I've got a lot in common with. So we need to challenge that negative thought. If we don't, we're always going to kind of think like that, which means we're always going to feel like that. So we can overcome this by noticing and challenging our thoughts, try and behavior experiments to change what we do, practice assertive communication, use relaxation techniques to reduce anxious feelings, and be kinder to ourselves. It's definitely a priority. All this like self-punishment and beating yourself up, it is not good at all and it needs to stop. We need to start talking kinder to ourselves, just like we talk to other people. Why can't we do that for ourselves? We need to give ourselves that hug. We need to tell ourselves we're doing okay, keep going. It's a difficult life, but we can manage it and we can bring our anxiety down and we can make it smaller by challenging ourselves more. These things take time as they haven't built up overnight. This could be years and years of conditioning, or it could be messages that we've received from others, or whatever previous experiences we've been involved in. But change is possible with practice and a bit of self-compassion. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you've got something from that. Obviously, if social anxiety or anxiety, or you have any other well-being issues, or you need to reach out to us, please do. And we will be here to support you. There's our email address, there's our telephone number. You'll just need to complete a referral form. We have a brilliant online social anxiety program through SilverCloud. There's the link for that. It's fantastic. If you want a bit more as a follow-on from this workshop, I'd highly recommend that. Just pop down and maybe arrange some one-to-one sessions with us. Yeah, thank you very much. Take care and hope your anxiety gets a bit smaller. Bye. Thank you. Bye.